Welcome to the Sweet Life Coaching Podcast, connecting real people with expert advice to achieve a healthier lifestyle and live a more fulfilling and abundant life. Here is your host, Coach Tavia.
Well, hello, everybody, again, and welcome back to the Sweet Life Coaching Podcast. I am your host today, Tavia, Health Coach Tavia. And today, oh my gosh, you guys, we're going to be talking. This is May. Can you believe it? And this whole month, I'm going to have some special guests for you. And I love this month because you know why I love it? Because it's my month. It's my month of Lyme Disease Awareness Month. Yep, you got it. My cause, my disease. Unfortunately, I'm going to claim it as mine, but a lot of other people have it too. And this month, I want to talk all things Lyme, and I want to talk about what is Lyme today. We're just going to talk about the basics today. So this is just going to be a pretty short podcast for the first week of May, but we're going to get into some other great things later on in the month. But for the most part, I just wanted to jump on here and discuss what is Lyme. Some of you may know what Lyme is. Some of you may have family members that have Lyme, friends that have Lyme. You guys, Lyme is not fun. I'm just going to say that. And Lyme is everywhere. And I would say Lyme is right up there with the equivalent of having a cancer diagnosis. And some of you might be like, oh, whatever, you've never had cancer. Well, true that. I don't have cancer. But Lyme, some people with Lyme can get cancer. It can turn into that. But before I get into all the bad stuff, of course, but let's just get into what is Lyme disease. What actually is Lyme disease, guys? So Lyme disease is basically a tick-borne illness. And it is predominantly caused from the bite of a tick. However, studies have shown, or over the years, they have said that it's not just from tick bites. And actually, fewer than 50% of people even recall getting bit by a tick, myself included. I don't even remember getting bit by a tick, you guys. I went years undiagnosed and just random symptoms. And then I finally saw Avril Lavigne on the Today Show and said, that's me. I think I have Lyme. But a lot of people and a lot of doctors don't believe in it. I'll tell you that right now. It's very hard to get diagnosed with Lyme disease. And if you have Lyme disease, then once you have Lyme disease, it's very hard to get rid of Lyme disease or put it in remission, if you will. So so what's Lyme disease? Let's go back to what Lyme disease is, some little facts about it. So Lyme disease is a tick-borne illness, like I said, predominantly caused from a tick bite. However, spiders can get infect you with this nasty little illness, and fleas as well. Spiders, fleas, ticks, all of those nasty little critters. So what is actually the Lyme disease, or what exactly is it, right? So it's actually a bacterial infection. And once these little bugs even mosquitoes, guys, mosquitoes. Oh, who's got a mosquito bite out there? So mosquitoes can give you Lyme. Mosquitoes and even fleas, ticks, mites, all of the above. Okay. So let me go back. So Lyme disease basically is a bacterial infection. Okay. So when these little bugs bite you, they cause this B. burgdorfia is the name of the bacteria that causes Lyme disease. And this little bacteria goes in and it burrows in your skin cells. It burrows in so it goes through the epidermis, goes through your skin, burrows down into like a corkscrew, typed little shape, if you will. And it burrows in just like you're pulling out a corkscrew from a wine, right? Unwinding a wine corkscrew. So, and they burrow down and they get into underneath the skin, they get into organs, they get into our muscles, they get into our tendons, they get everywhere, guys. And right? Yuck, gross. And so what happens is a lot of times people will get a bite from a mosquito. Maybe it's a flea, maybe it's a tick, and these dang little things, you can't really tell if you get bit, especially a tick. Sometimes they burrow so deep And the ones you got to look out for the most are these little nymph ones. They're like the size of like a poppy seed. And these poppy seed little nymphs are the worst, you guys. And I see these in like corners of eyes. I see them in ears. I see them behind the folds of the ears, in between toes. These are the nastiest ones you can get. So when you're out there this spring and you're out in the woods tromping around in grasses, pull up those socks like you look like a dork, right? Pull those socks up and put your pants over the top of, or your socks over the top of your pants. I can't emphasize enough how much you want to protect yourself when you're especially going through these grasses and weeds. Maybe you're out fishing, or hiking or whatever. Please, please, please do this. And if you can't do that, get some repellent, okay? Get some deep woods off, or make your own repellent at home. Eucalyptus is an essential oil you can use. So just a couple of things that you want to carry with you, and to protect yourself. I can't emphasize enough how important it is to protect yourself. So let me give you some 10 little facts about Lyme disease. Okay, here we go. So Lyme disease is something we just can't afford to ignore, you guys. It's out there. It's a thing. If I was to think about right now, some people that are sick and around me in my life haven't been tested for Lyme, I can pretty much tell you they have Lyme, but they don't know it. That's how confident I am in this disease and how much of a epidemic it is. It's a big deal. And I feel like even with this pandemic going on, here I'm going to go off on this is, in my opinion, IMO. I feel like a lot of these viruses that are going around right now are going to bring out some of these other infections. I'll just say it right there. Okay. So 10 facts about Lyme. Number 1, you're 10 times more likely to contract Lyme disease than West Nile virus. Do you guys remember West Nile virus? That's the virus that is caused from a mosquito. Okay. So, wow. All right. Okay. Lyme disease has surpassed AIDS as the number 1 infection disease in the US. And many cases aren't even reported, you guys. Many aren't even reported. And that's just what's reported by the CDC. And I won't even get into that right now. Here's another fun fact. Number 3, the common medical doctor is using an extremely inaccurate form of testing, which is only 50% accurate. What? So if I need to go to the doctor and get a test and then it comes back, you can only trust it 50%? Yep. I'm here to tell you, yep, that is true. I will talk more about the tests and how to get tested for Lyme later on, and what the tests are all about. But I'm just here to tell you right now, you can't go solely off just the test. If you get a negative Lyme test, you need to dig a little deeper because there's other things you need to look at. And we'll talk about that later on about testing for Lyme. Number 4, Lyme can be spread by any insect that feeds on blood. Ew, gross, right? I just named off all those little critters. Yep. And unfortunately, here's the other thing. It's also been proven in studies that Lyme can be sexually transferred as well. And there's even been spread through in utero in babies. Gosh darn it, right? So if you are a mom out there and you have Lyme disease and you're trying to get pregnant, just beware. It doesn't happen to everyone. It doesn't always transfer to babies, but it can. Can it always transfer to your partner? Not always, but it can. Just beware of that, okay? So number 5, the average medical doctor knows very little about this disease or long-term dangers. Oh my gosh, you guys, this is a fact beyond fact. I went 10 years misdiagnosed. I told you that. I talk about that all the time. And most doctors, you go in, they don't even believe in it, or they say, no, you can't have that. No, we don't think that. We think you have lupus, or we think you have fibromyalgia, which was my first diagnosis. Everyone chops Lyme up to fibromyalgia. I'm here to tell you, it's crazy. That was my first diagnosis. What's fibromyalgia? Fibromyalgia is basically a term that is it's a diagnosis that is saying you have widespread pain for an unknown cause. We don't know why you're hurting, but we know your muscles are hurting. We know you're hurting. So here's a drug for you. And there's no real root cause unless someone digs deeper for you. For me, in my case, my root cause was Lyme. All right. So number 6, another fun fact. So if you're not treated properly with it, most often it turns in a debilitating chronic Lyme or chronic condition. Now, when you first get bit with a tick, if you see a tick, if you guys are out there this summer and you're hiking and you see a tick and you get bit with a tick, take it off right away. And there's safety precautions on how to do that too. We'll have to talk about that, safety of that. But when you take that off and you get a bullseye rash, that's a typical sign of a tick bite. Typically, you can go to the doctor, get some doxycycline, which is what the doctor is going to prescribe you. It's an antibiotic. And that is called acute Lyme, or what we think is acute Lyme. It's happening right then and there, and you can get treated. And usually you can go on your way and you're fine. But it's those of us that were misdiagnosed for years and years and years and given crap diagnoses years and years and years later, not figuring out what's going on. That's when we have what's called chronic Lyme. Okay, so there's two different things, acute Lyme and chronic Lyme. Okay, number 7 fun fact is Lyme symptoms are symptoms that include and often lead to many misdiagnoses, like I said, like MS, depression, rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, chronic fatigue syndrome, depression, anxiety. All of those conditions or other autoimmune conditions are so similar to Lyme. Another condition they thought I had was MS, multiple sclerosis. And I did not have it because they said I didn't have what are called lesions on my head or my brain. Now, I will say this, some people with Lyme have lesions on their brain. That being said, it's really hard to get a clear diagnosis, you guys. It has to be someone that knows Lyme. It has to be someone that has lived Lyme, like yourself, like myself. And it has to be someone that knows what the heck they're doing. If you are out there and you're like, oh my God, Tavia, I think this might be me, you need to find a Lyme literate doctor and someone that knows Lyme. And that would be my fact number 8. And that you need to find a Lyme literate doctor, that's someone that knows what the heck they're doing. Okay. There's Lyme literate MDs as a medical doctors and Lyme literate NDs as a naturopathic doctors. I actually see a naturopathic doctor in Linwood, Washington. He's phenomenal. I highly recommend him, Dr. Christopher Wakely. Shout out to him. And he is going to be a guest on my podcast soon, and when he is not so busy. And we are going to talk and hear from him. And I'm so excited. So anyways, you need to find that Lyme doctor that's going to work for you. I will say in my experience, a Lyme literate naturopathic doctor was a better route for me because I didn't tolerate like the medicines, the prescriptions very well. So I went the natural route and that worked well for me. Everyone's a little bit different. So I just want to mind you and say, do what's best for you. So Lyme fact number 10 or number 9, excuse me, is that Lyme disease enters the central nervous system almost immediately. And even if it is quote unquote cured, many endure relapses, years later. So gosh, okay, that was just a bomb dropped on us all, right? Great. I will personally vouch and say that 5 years after my diagnoses, I am not cured. I don't ever say I'm cured. I say I'm in remission. And I have relapses and I have what we call flares, if you will, of things. And because Lyme is, like I said in the beginning, remember guys, these little corkscrews, right? They burrow in. It's almost impossible to kill all of them off. It's almost nearly impossible unless you get it right in the beginning. I mean, I even took extraordinary measures and I went to Germany 5 years ago and we did what was called a hypothermia treatment where you heat your body up to 107 degrees. Yep, they did over an 8-hour period of time. And to kill off these bugs in my system, basically was like a self-induced fever. They do not do this in the United States like they do in Germany. If you want more information, you can click on my link and I will certainly give you information about this. But even that, I came home and I still had cleanup work to do. I still had to clean up the die-off of the bugs. I still had to detox the bugs. And I still have what are called co-infections. What? What are co-infections? Tavia, you just told me about Lyme. Now I got to worry about co-infections. What the hell are co-infections? Oops, sorry. I didn't mean to swear. So yeah, we got these. Number 10 is Lyme disease also has what are called secondary infections. Co-infections, great, right? So what are these co-infections? So here's the secondary part of Lyme that gets complicated. Lyme in itself, fine. You have Lyme, but the other thing you need to check for are secondary infections, co-infections. There are other infection organisms that are also transmitted through the bites of ticks and other species. And just one bite can carry all of these. And I'm going to name them off right now. Babesia, Bartonella, Ehrlichia, Anaplasma, Powassan, Rickettsia, and relapsing fever, and RMSF, to name a few. But those are the bulk of the co-infections. If you ever heard of Rocky Mountain spotted fever, that's RMSF. And a lot of hunters, a lot of deer hunters are constantly getting bitten by a ticks, right? That's deer ticks. That's predominantly who carries these nasty thing called Lyme disease, this nasty bacteria. So all of these co-infections have to be checked. And if you're not checking for co-infections, it's like if you just go in and sweep the Lyme and then years later you're still sick and you're like, why am I still sick? Well, did you check the co-infections? These co-infections also have to be treated. So that's why Lyme is so complicated, you guys. It's so, so complicated. And that's why so many people are sick for so long. It's not just take an antibiotic and be done with it. It can be done when it's treated early, but most people have what I call chronic Lyme disease, like I just mentioned. So let's talk real quick, some of the most common symptoms of Lyme disease, and then I'm going to end it here, and we're going to come back and we're going to talk more about treatment. We're going to talk more about testing and all that stuff in the next week's episode. Okay, so stay tuned. So what are the top 10 most common symptoms for Lyme disease? Well, I would say for me, headaches, migraines. I would say muscle and joint pain, overall feeling of like flu-like symptoms, weakness, fatigue, chronic fatigue, stomach issues. Ugh, I had so many stomach issues. I was given the diagnosis of IBS, IBD, diverticulitis. Okay, that's great. So inflammation of the gut. From what? From why? Right? Vision changes, vision problems, numbness, tingling, or paralysis even. I was starting to go down that road in my left leg. Irregular body temperatures, depression, mood swings, anxiety, insomnia, sleep issues, all of those. Oh, and dizziness is another one. All of those are common symptoms of Lyme disease. And if you're out there like, oh my gosh, I have even 3 or 4 of these, you might want to get checked for Lyme. You might want to. And I'm here to help you. I can get you tested for Lyme. That's what I do. That's what I like to do. In my coaching, I help a lot of people with Lyme and other illnesses. I will say that too. I do not just coach people with Lyme or help people with Lyme. So if you are experiencing any of those symptoms, it might be time to talk to your doctor, and if your doctor won't test you, I will help you get tested and get that for you. So, all right, I want to wrap this up right now. Those are the basics of Lyme. Where do they come from? Symptoms of it, some fun facts. We're going to talk more in depth about, like I said, treatments, testing. I'm going to talk a little bit more about Epstein-Barr virus and the overlap of Lyme. If you have EBV, Epstein-Barr virus, AKA it's the virus that causes mononucleosis. A lot of kids get that. I got it in college. I'm going to be talking about that in depth more. So stay tuned for all of that. I'm going to talk about Candida and Lyme. I'm going to talk about mold and Lyme and some of the other things that are so common and overlap with Lyme that go hand in hand with Lyme. So Lyme is complicated, but stick with me. I'll help you figure this out and stay tuned because I'm going to kind of lay this all out for you in a roadmap so you can understand a little bit more. And my hope is that someone out there listening today will go, wow, I think this might be a thing for me. And my hope is you're not suffering any longer after today because there is help out there. You just need to ask I'm here for you. I'm here to answer any questions you have. Go to my link. I actually have a page called Days of My Lyme. Yes, like Days of Our Lives, the soap opera, you guys. It's called daysofmylyme.com. It's all kinds of information about Lyme disease. And you're happy to, or you're welcome to check that out. And you can also watch a little video about when I went to Germany as well. So I am going to end on that note today. And that is all we have today for the Lyme week 1, going into what is Lyme and all the things. So I look forward to hearing from any of you that have any questions. Again, daysofmylyme.com is my website about Lyme. Healthcoachtavia.com is my business site if you have any questions there as well. So make it a great day, you guys, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for listening. Have a great one. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Sweet Life Coaching Podcast. To learn more about the topics mentioned on today's show, please visit sweetcoachtavia.com.